You are listening to the Life Coach Business Podcast, episode number 75. Welcome to the Life Coach Business Podcast, a show for coaches who are ready to up-level their business and take their impact, leadership, and results to a whole new level. If you're ready to start taking powerful action and become the leader your business needs in order to grow and thrive, this show is for you. I'm your host, Amanda Karlstad, certified life and business coach and entrepreneurial leadership expert. Now let's get down to business. Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to the show today. So glad to have you here. I hope wherever you are in the world that you're having an amazing week. We are heading into spring break this week, and I am so looking forward to it. And we're going to be traveling a little bit and having some fun. And I have to tell you, the kids are super excited, as am I. And we're all just really looking forward to it. All right. I'm excited to bring you today's episode. I have another very special guest on today's show, one of my clients, Jewelle, who is a recent graduate of my foundational program called the Mastermind. And for those of you that might be new here, my program, my foundational business accelerator program called the Mastermind, is a program that's designed to take you from wherever it is you are currently in your coaching business. So that might just be starting out, it might be launching your practice, or it might even be if you've been working for some time to build your business. Like you're going to hear was Jewelle's story. She had been working for over a year to build her practice. And so really the focus of this program is meant to take you from wherever you are and help you build your foundation and start generating the momentum that you need in order to generate those first 6 figures in your business. And I have to say that this program not only helps you do just that, but it also helps you to build the foundation that you really need beyond your first 6 figures. Because the reality is, and you're going to hear this in today's interview, in order to build your business to what I call a significant level, right? So to a multi-figure, 7-figure and beyond level, there are some very specific things that you need to have in place in your business. There's some very specific things that you must implement in your business. And so this is why the work that I do incorporates both the high-level mindset and also the high-level strategy that you need in order to do just that. And so something that's really, really important to me in the work that I do with my clients and how I have specifically designed this program is to not only help my clients get to that first big milestone, which for most of them, and I know for most of you listening, is that first 6 figures, but it also really does set the stage for long-term and sustainable growth. And it's a very holistic approach to your business. The work that we do is very holistic in that we do it in a way that really allows my clients to not only generate success and create success in the short term, but like I said, also in the long term. And within that program, we follow a methodology that I've developed. It's a methodology that I have learned and that I've really used in my own business throughout my own experience in building my own practice, which really allows for that sustainable and that holistic growth that I talk a lot about. And it's one of the reasons that I believe, without a doubt, one of the reasons why my clients are able to create such phenomenal results and they're able to do it very quickly is because of this methodology. It's this methodology that is very specific, yet allows for a high level of customization. And it's also supported by very high level mindset. So I'm really proud of the work that we do in this program. And I'm really proud of my clients like Jewelle, who you're going to hear from very shortly. And I want to encourage you, if you are in a position right now where you are tired of trying to, what I call DIY your business, if you're trying to piece things together from things here and there, and if you're tired of that, And maybe you've tried some courses and maybe you're tired of courses and maybe you've even tried some other programs and you just know that you're capable of so much more. I really do want to invite you to apply to the mastermind. Go to amandacarlstadcoaching.com/the-mastermind. We'll link up that application in the show notes. But I want to invite you to apply to this program. It's really an intensive business accelerator that I truly believe every coach, no matter what niche you're in, it's the exact process, it's the level of coaching that I have really observed that you need in order to help you get to exactly where you want to go. And I would also say one of the significant things with this process is that my goal is really to help you also go beyond that, is to help you see beyond your current vision. And in fact, it's one of the gifts that I have as a coach is my ability to help really expand that vision, that vision that my clients have, and really help them step confidently into that. And so not only do we build the actual business around that vision, but we actually, from an inner standpoint, really help them to step much more confidently into that role. So I want to invite you again. You can go to my website at amandacarlstadcoaching.com/the-mastermind. We'll link that up in the show notes. We do have another cohort that is starting soon. I want to invite you to apply as it's a very high touch program. I do talk with every applicant for the program. I do want to be sure that it's a great fit. And so just know that this process is focused on helping you get real results in your business. All right. So with that, let's dive into today's interview. All right, everyone. I'm super excited to bring you today's show. I have another very special guest for you, my client, Jewelle Bejjavarapu. I'm super excited for you to hear our conversation today. Jewelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm so excited to do this with you. All right, Jewelle. So before we dive in, why don't you give us a brief introduction of you? Tell us a little bit about who you are, who you coach, the types of problems that you solve for clients, and we'll start with that.
Yeah. So I have a BA in biology and a master's of science in education. And so that kind of like is the perfect recipe for who I coach, which is millennial women who are struggling to get pregnant and want to get pregnant without the drama, without the emotional roller coaster. So I'm a holistic fertility coach. And I coach millennial women on how to get pregnant.
Love it. So good. Oh my gosh. I love this so much. So Jewelle, let's talk a little bit about, so this wasn't always the case. This wasn't always your niche, so to speak,
No,
right?
It was not at all.
So let's talk a little bit about that because I think this is helpful for my listeners to hear. And I guess probably a good starting point would be, tell us about where you started your journey in terms of like coaching, like who were you working with? Like what were you doing? And this was kind of pre us starting to work together, right?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. What like brought me into coaching was actually like I had IBS, I had adrenal fatigue, I had all these health issues that were actually all related to fertility. And like I had never even heard of a coach before until I found like an old colleague who turned wellness coach. And I like started working with her and I was like, oh, this is what coaching is? Like it exists. Like, this is interesting. And then like fast forward like a year or so afterwards, I found the life coach school. And so I got certified there. And throughout that year, I was working with a lot of different coaches, tackling a lot of like big issues in my life that were coming up. And I initially was an intercultural life coach. So I helped like expat women like transition and learn about culture and, become more like, become like satisfied in their culture, like in other cultures.
I want to stop you there for a minute because this is important. Like why were you helping women with that in particular at that point in time?
Because I love traveling. I have
Okay.
lived abroad
Okay.
and I really wanted to support women because I know how hard that transition is when you go to a different culture and you kind of feel like, what am I
Mm,
doing? Like, what's
yes.
going on? Like, I don't know how to handle this. And there's just like a lot of dialogue in your head about how do I survive? So, and I've experienced that. So I was like, oh, like I love traveling. I love doing this. So like, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
that was
you
my
had
initial.
experience living abroad. So I want to
Yes.
just make that really clear. So that's kind of where your coaching, like you as a coach kind of started, right?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Perfect.
So I did
Okay.
that. And then I decided I didn't want to have a niche. And so I didn't have that. I didn't really have a niche.
And how did that
And
work out?
not really well. Because I didn't know who I was talking to. I was like talking to everyone. I just like kind of wrote down my thoughts every day and like posted them on social media and like
Mm,
got some likes, like my best friends. They're always supportive.
okay. Yep.
Like they liked my stuff and people would be like, that's really interesting. But it wasn't like I wasn't like marketing myself. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
solving any problems.
So we did that. We learned that lesson,
Yes.
right? That
Yeah.
having no niche isn't always the answer. Okay.
Now.
Then what?
So then I got it, finished the life coach school certification, was in the entree track, which is like a business program with the life coach school for 6 months. And so
Okay.
they were like, choose a niche. So I was like in major niche drama because I didn't really want to do the intercultural coaching. I needed a niche because I knew that not having a niche wasn't really working. And so I had been working a lot on like overcoming my people pleasing tendencies and my perfectionism tendencies and healing childhood trauma. So I became a people pleasing coach for the next
Okay.
6 months.
Okay. And
Yeah,
how did that work out?
that worked out better than having no niche for
Okay.
sure. I got like a couple of clients, but it like did not like it felt like pulling teeth for me. And like
Mm,
I was like, this shouldn't feel like this. I was like really judging myself. I was like, I have a lot of experience overcoming people pleasing. I have a lot to offer here, but it just did not feel aligned. Like it just felt so hard to write content. And I was like in tears a lot of time. I was like stressed out and so worried and all these things. And so like I was just like, I don't know what to do. And that's
okay.
kind of where I found you.
And then we had our call. Yes.
Yes.
That's where our first call started. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. And then what happened?
Yeah. So I actually been running a couple of Facebook ads in the people pleasing niche, and
Uh-huh.
those were not working out for me at all. I was like, I really don't know anything about this. And so then I was like not knowing how to do Facebook ads. I really wasn't knowing how to market. I had this niche that I didn't love. And so then I like found out about you. I actually got you from a recommendation. And then we had this like amazing conversation, our first call, where you were like, I don't think that's your niche. And then we were talking about like my fertility stuff that I have been going through
Mm-hmm.
and you were like,
Mm-hmm.
why not fertility coaching? And the thing is, Amanda, like I had thought like fertility coaching for the past like 6 months. I was just too scared. I was like, I don't have enough experience. I had like all these excuses in my head.
Yeah, because there was a lot that we had to unpack in the beginning with all of this.
Yeah,
Like I can remember like the
totally.
first few weeks, once we officially, kicked things off, I remember a lot of back and forth, some Voxers in there about, just really unpacking some of the mind drama that you had with it. So what
So
were
much
some of
mind
those?
trauma.
Right. So what were some of the thoughts? Like what was kind of going on? You mentioned a couple of things there, but let's park there for a minute.
Yeah. Some of the thoughts that were happening were like I had these belief systems that like, okay, in order to be a fertility coach, I needed to be certified as a fertility coach. In order
Okay.
to be a fertility coach, I needed to have gone through every single fertility procedure there ever was and know all about it. As the fertility coach, I like needed to have had like, I don't know, like I made up this number, like 5 years of infertility in order to be like qualified. And like I haven't had that. And so I just had like all these belief systems of like why I wasn't good enough, like why I wouldn't cut it.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember those conversations. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. And you just kind of like poked holes in them. And we're kind of just
Mm,
like, wait, like who says? Like,
right. Yeah.
and I think it really helped figuring out who my audience was, because then I was like, oh, I don't have to talk to the people who are, 15 years on infertility. Like, I don't have to talk to those people. Like, I can talk to people who, were just behind me.
Right. Right. So, so important. So, yeah. So basically, on your consult call, we decided that it was going to be fertility.
Yeah, we did. It was like set and done in
And
stone.
you know what's so funny? I can still see just energetically, I can still see the video. Like I can still see the picture of you like in my mind of when we like had that conversation, and I could just like literally I could see it physically, like the weight kind of lifted from you, and just I would just say like happiness that I saw like really came through. I just saw like your brightness really come through when we had that conversation. And I have to say, Jewel, like one of the things that and I've told you this before, but I just want to acknowledge you for is like you have just like you really dove in. Like you hit the ground running in my program. Like you came in, you were taking action, like you were just hitting the ground running the whole time. And it was just so amazing to see like where you started from that first conversation where it was very clear to me. And that's, something that I love being able to really help my clients with is getting into that full alignment. And that is so, so important because like you said, when you don't have that alignment, when you are trying to talk to a group of people or an audience that you're not really fully in alignment with, it makes everything so difficult, right? Down to
Yes.
writing a post on social media, right? Down to writing, maybe it's a blog post, whatever that is. And so I think sometimes we brush aside. I see a lot of times where the tendency is to brush aside the importance of being in alignment because it's like, nope, we've chosen this niche. We're going to stick with it for a year, right? I hear
Oh
that a
my
lot. Like,
gosh.
I'm just going to stick with
Yes.
it for a year. I'm just going to like, strong arm this here. And what ends up happening is that, because I will share too, that happened to me in the beginning. The niche that I quote unquote, chose in the beginning is not where I am today. And what's so funny is that I went through a similar experience. I knew from even before I went certified that I wanted to do the type of coaching that I'm doing today. But
Mm-hmm.
through that process and through, just different experiences, started, coaching more on like career transition, things like that, which was fine and it was great. But I knew it wasn't fully in alignment. And it wasn't until I made that choice to step into full alignment that things just exploded in my own business. But it was a process, right?
Yeah.
And I see that with every client that I work with. It's like until we get to that place, it's like you're almost like you're hitting walls, right? Like whether it's you're trying to put out the content, you're trying to, connect with your audience, but for whatever reason, it's just not gelling. And the reason for that is because you're probably not in alignment. And so we have to look at that and we have to do the work to get in alignment. And that can be a process for people. So I think that's great. I think that's a really great example. I actually love that this came up because I think this is something a lot of coaches deal with,
Mm-hmm.
especially as they're starting their business.
Yeah, totally.
So, okay, so you were running some ads, you were trying the people pleasing niche, you were not having a lot of success there, just kind of intuitively, I think, knew, right, that it probably wasn't exactly right, but needed some guidance, needed some support on that. What do you think, like, when you think back to really the progression you've made in the last 6 months, because it's been phenomenal, like, what were some of the biggest transformations when you think about that process, when you think about that time and just the major shifts that you've made in your business and personally?
Yeah, I think like at the beginning of your program, we do a lot of modules and thinking
Mm-hmm.
and writing and, like hashing everything out, like getting
Yeah.
the business out on paper. And I think that like helped me so much get clarity. And that was like a big thing. It was like, who am I exactly talking to? Like, what is my audience? Like, what is my message? Like, what is all of these things that I know you intellectually I knew that you like needed in marketing, but I wasn't really for sure like the thought process of how to figure that out. And so like you like helped me walk like step by step by step to like figure out all of these like processes. And like I think like that just gave me so much confidence to like really like go all in. 'Cause it's like, oh wait, I know this. Like I have clarity now, so I can start taking action. And like you know me, like when I take action, it's like go big or go home. So
Yeah,
I just
Jewel's a quick action taker for sure. It's like
yes,
done.
yeah, and I love to take action. That's like my
Yeah,
favorite thing.
right.
So yeah, I think just taking the action, like learning how to do the Facebook ads, like learning all of these skill sets that I just didn't have. And realizing that like, oh wait, like I can totally talk to these like what I said earlier, like oh, I can totally talk to people who are just at the beginning of their fertility journey, you
Right.
know, who are struggling with this. And I think it was like rocky. It was like up and down. Like Facebook ads are no joke, and they're like, you
Yeah.
know, one day is great, and one day it's awful, and you're just
Yeah.
like, what's happening?
Right.
So it like that basic foundation really led me to like have that clarity, have that confidence. So like when things did go up and down, like I would be like, okay, like I know I just have to ride out the waves and like things are going to get better. And like having you there to support me was so helpful to be like, okay, we just got to ride this out. Like we'll figure this
Mhm.
out. And then it happened, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to talk about this for a minute because this isn't something I dive into a lot because a lot of my episodes I talk about, definitely like the mindset and kind of the inner game with building a business, but there definitely is a large piece of like the action and the strategy, right? That I teach in my program. And what I find the reason that I do that is because at some point we have to, of course, we always have to be looking at the mindset, and it's always my first approach of we have to be first getting our mindset right. We have to be kind of setting ourselves up from success, that from an inner game standpoint, I'll just say that, right? But what's really also important that I think, and again, where I see a lot of coaches struggle, it's the actual strategy then, right? Like once we get to that point, once we have done the mindset work, not saying that we're perfect because we're never going to be perfect, right? But once we've gotten to a level where now we can focus, now we can start taking some action, what I find is that there is a lot of confusion. It's a lot of not knowing what to do. And I really just believe that, this process that you've gone through, that I take all of my clients through, it's essential if you want to build an online coaching business. I mean, there's really no other way that I can see that you can get to, a high level without actually doing this foundational work. And so I talk a lot about the importance of that foundation. Of course, the mindset is always going to be the most important because that is what ultimately drives that action. But there also needs to be some actual strategy with it. And I think that's a really big missing piece that I see a lot of times. And I see a lot of people that, they spend a lot of time in the mindset, which is good, but sometimes it can also be, it gets to a point where we have to also get real about the fact that we're building a business. So there's actual business, foundational things that we need to have in place in our business. Would you agree with that, Jewel?
100%. I feel like when I was in my people pleasing niche and, you know, starting out, I like was like throwing spaghetti at the wall. Like, well, let's try this and see what happens. Oh, that doesn't work. Let me try a completely opposite strategy and see what happens. Versus with your program, it was very much like, okay, this is the first step, this is the second step. And like, I love that organization. I love that like simplicity. It's not like, oh, we're trying a million different things. We're trying one way and then we're going to add on to that, you know, add on to it. So that way it's, you don't have, you have a base, you have someplace to start from, like with a webinar. Like I had no idea what a webinar was or how to run one or like any of that stuff. And it's like, okay, we're just going to start, we're going to build this, then we're going to do
Mm-hmm.
the Facebook ads, and then we're going to put it together.
Yeah, totally. Well, and what my goal really is with all of that is to, like you said, keep it simple, because the more we complicate it in the beginning, it's the shiny object, and then you're jumping from one thing to the next, and before you know it, you're spinning and you're not sure if you should do, this over here or this over there. And then what ends up happening is you're never really diving deep into what it is that's actually going to move the needle in your business. And so,
Mm-hmm.
me, I really like to dive deep with these things, and I really like to make tweaks as we go versus jumping all around and saying, well, let's try this. Now, there will be elements of that, of course. But again, we have to have that plan starting, when we start this process, because the more we start jumping around, what happens is your energy gets fragmented, your focus gets fragmented, which then it opens you up to more confusion, more of those doubts creeping in. And to be honest with you, like, we just don't have time for that, right? Like, as a business owner, we have to be like, if you're choosing to have a business, a coaching business, there's really you as the coach, but there's also you as the business owner. And you really have to start stepping into that mindset of being a business owner that is executing on intelligent strategy and isn't just throwing spaghetti at the wall. That's not going to build the business long term. It's just not sustainable. So yes, I 100% agree with you on that. So let's talk a little bit about then. So we decided in the beginning, we're going to make this pivot. This is going to be our niche. It's much more alignment. I mean, I could physically see it on you in that first call.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where are you today in your business? So talk a little bit about what you were able to really build, because I think it's really significant.
Yeah. So I was able, and I still am, doing webinars every single week, running Facebook ads and funnels every single week to like bring people in and then nurture them in my Facebook group, nurture them on my email list. Yeah, it was big things, rebuilt my whole website, redid my messaging twice, and like really dialed it in, figured out who my audience was, and like who my person is, and like built a whole course, like a whole program, which I'm actually now, turned into videos, put it on Kajabi, and hopefully going to sell it separately as a course in the near future. So lots of stuff.
Totally. Like, I mean, honestly, you now are, and I say this a lot to my clients, and I've alluded to this a lot in my podcast episodes, but it's really important to me that the work that I do with my clients, I'm really setting you up. I'm helping to set you up for success in the short term, but also in the long term, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really see that the work that we do initially in this foundational program really does set the stage for you, absolutely, to that first six figures. But what it also does is it sets you up well beyond that. And I think that's something, again, I don't think you really understand that until you're in it, until you kind of see the depth and you see like, wow, you kind of look back and say, wow, this is everything that I've done. But like, to be in a position now, literally within 6 months, where you've basically built out an entire brand, you've launched a podcast, you have a solid marketing funnel in place that's bringing clients to you every week, right? Like, you started this process with none of that, right? And so now we're already like, you're already at a point where it's okay, I've built this program out. Now I can repurpose it in this way. And by the way, now you also have the skills to market that, right? Like, now you understand the marketing side of things, which I think is a very misunderstood piece of this puzzle that
Mm-hmm.
many, many coaches do not have, is how to actually market themselves and how to do that
Yeah.
effectively.
And I just want to say that, like, now I know exactly what I need to do to sign a client. Like, I
Yep.
can be like, okay, I can do this, I could do this, I do this, and I get on a consult call, and this is how I sell, and it feels good,
Yeah.
and it feels aligned, and it feels like heart centered, and I get the clients. Versus before, I was like, yeah, I have no idea how these people will come to me. Like, it just happens, or it
Yeah.
mostly doesn't happen. So now I
Yeah.
feel like very much like more in control, having more strategy, having like, again, that
Mhm.
marketing side of it. And like with this course I have, coming up eventually, like yeah, I know exactly what to do to sell this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, and honestly, this is what I'm saying, like what this foundation you have built right now, these are the foundational elements of a 7-figure business.
mm-hmm.
They
Yeah,
are.
totally.
They are. Like when you really start dissecting, coaching businesses at that level, you now have most of the elements of that, right? Now it's a matter of you, of course, you have to continue to build that. So it's really significant. I think, again, this isn't, one of the things that I guess I really wanted to come through in this conversation is, this stuff goes beyond like surface level, right? Like
Mm-hmm. Totally.
going through the process, it is an intense process. Like there is a certain level of rigor that's involved. This is why this program, I would say, isn't probably for everybody, right? Like you do have to be willing to take action. You do have to be willing to get over, the belief systems that you might be holding on to. You just
Mm-hmm.
have to, right?
Yeah.
Because if you stay in that, and unfortunately, this is where I see a lot of coaches kind of land and stay there, is you kind of sit in that mind drama. You sit in whether it's niche drama or whatever it is, and they just can't break through that. And so sometimes I think it's just a matter of, I see this a lot where when you have a game plan, when you have, more of that strategy, when you have step-by-step support, when you have all of that, like it just allows you to move through things so much quicker and with that confidence that you had mentioned.
Exactly. I 100% agree.
Yeah, so good. So we didn't talk about your podcast. So you
Oh
also,
yeah.
through
I
this
also started.
process, launched a podcast. So tell us about your podcast, Jewelle.
It's so much fun. I love it. Yeah, it's called the Fertility Life Coach Podcast, and I have an episode that comes out every single week. I'm on 18 episodes right now. I just finished recording my 18th episode, and it's so much fun. I've had people like reach out to me who found my podcast and reach out to me. I have a current client who listened to my podcast, and that's how she knew she wanted to sign with me. So it's just really like that extra oomph. I think that like, hey, I'm giving out, this is like high quality, free content that everyone has access to. And when people see that and people see the quality, the level of like
Mm.
content, the mindset work that we do, the actionable strategies that I give on my podcast, like I feel like it's a no-brainer. Of course you should work with me. Like
Well, we know that because you really are helping your clients. And I want to talk a little bit about that. Like, so what are some of the things that you see that come up a lot for your clients? Because there may be some listeners right now that are dealing with this in their life and are looking for some extra support or looking for some help. So what are some of the things that you work with your clients on specifically?
yeah, so I think like getting pregnant is kind of like a three-pronged approach.
Yep.
I think you definitely need the foundation that like business coaching is that mindset. Like our mindset, how stressed, how anxious we are, like has effects in our body. And we have to create that space so our body feels safe to get pregnant. And we do that through mindset. We do that through eliminating stress, eliminating anxiety, or learning how to manage it better. And so I really focus on like a lot of like victim mentality kind of thinking with my clients, a lot of like expectations and learning to live in the present and let go of the expectations and think from their future selves. So I do a lot of that type of work with a mindset. And then I also, since I'm a holistic fertility coach, I also add in like the diet, menstrual tracking, like all of these action steps, the data steps that are like, okay, you can't do any of that. And as you know this, like you can't do like the tracking and changing your diet until you get your mindset like
Right.
drama
Yeah.
free. So like
Yeah.
once we get the anxiety and the stress and like can like relax into the experience and the journey of getting pregnant, then it's like, okay, let's tweak the diet. Let's look at the menstrual cycle. Let's get to the root cause of why you're not getting pregnant. And it normally is one of those three things, like the mindset, the menstrual tracking, or the diet. It all comes down to those three things. And so it's just like figuring out which ones that is. And most women, the doctors don't have time to do this. doctors don't have time to sit down and like talk about why you're stressed and anxious every day about, you know, and of course you're stressed and anxious, like trying to get pregnant, it's not working. But like how to manage that and how to like change your diet and like eat the best foods for your fertility and specifically for like your fertility because everyone's different. So it's really sitting down and hashing all of that out. And just like my process is so unique for each client.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that this is where you've kind of landed, right? Because I knew from the get-go, like the mindset tools and just the, you know, obviously the training, having gone through the same certification process with the life coach school, like just the tools that you have, like it was very clear, like, you know, and this hasn't been my journey, and you and I have talked about that, but it's not something that I see a lot out in the market. And so I just thought, what an opportunity for you to bring this to this audience, right? To bring this to these women and these, you know, couples that are really facing this challenge. And, you know, what a beautiful thing to be able to help them from that side of things, from the mindset support, from more of these holistic things that you're talking about, that you're absolutely right, that doctors aren't necessarily, you know, addressing, right? Because of maybe they don't have the time or it's just not part of the work that they can do with clients. So I love that you're really solving that for your clients and you're filling that need in the market. I think it's really, really important work. So I want to acknowledge you for just diving in and going for it, because I know it was uncomfortable at first for you. And
Totally.
I know that it
still
was
is uncomfortable sometimes. I'm still like, what am I doing? But
yeah,
I just
totally.
keep going and it figures itself out.
Totally. Well, and I think, you know, once you really start to, like, I love that now you have the evidence, right? You have the clients, you have proof, like you've got all of these things that are now starting to happen for you, where you have kind of that, you know, in a sense, that validation, right? Whereas that can be hard at first. It's one of those things that I do think that's why really your first 100K is part of the reasons why it can be so challenging, is because you don't have the evidence yet. You don't have the evidence. Okay, does anybody even want what I have here, right? Can I even help these women, or can I help these clients? And there's so many, you know, internal battles that tend to come up in that, you know, that first 100K, that I just think it's so important to be, you know, have supports, really strong mindset and strategic support in that time. I think it requires both. I don't think it requires one or the other. I think it's both. And, you know, just being able to move forward despite all of that is really key. And you've done a great job with that.
Thank you. I appreciate the work that you did to help me get there.
Of course. Of course. So what advice would you give to maybe other coaches that are listening that are maybe more, you know, earlier on in their journey where you were when we started working together, where they're trying all the things, feel like they're throwing spaghetti at the wall. They are maybe not feeling fully aligned with their work. What advice would you give to them?
I think the first piece of advice is like, if you're crying about your niche, it's not the right niche.
Okay.
Like it sounds simple, but like it shouldn't make you cry. Like it's kind of like going on a date. Like if you like go on a date and the guy makes you cry or like doesn't feel good, then like it's probably not the right person for you. So like I wish I had like known that and like trusted my gut intuition and been like, oh, it just isn't the right niche, and that's okay. That's okay. I can find another one. Like I can do the mindset work to get me another niche. Yeah. And I think the next piece of advice would just be like, have a strategy and a plan, and like, or go find yourself a coach, like a business coach that can help you get that strategy and a plan. Because I think the hardest part for me was like, I just didn't know what strategy or plan to do. Like you don't know what you don't know, and which is fine, but like throwing spaghetti at a wall for a year is like going to make your mindset and a lot more doubt, and you have a lot more cleaning up work that you're going to need to do versus if you just go and get some help.
Agreed.
Like,
100%.
go get help.
100%. 100%. I see that happen a lot. And I think that that's very true for many coaches that I see, again, early on in the journey, especially because you kind of just want to, you think, okay, well, I'm just going to like do my model, or I'm going to like just figure this out. I'm going to just like, right, just kind of stay there. But what happens is when you can't, we're all limited. We all have limited perspective, right? And I just think it's so valuable when you can have someone that can see beyond, your limitations, that can see beyond, that can see a vision for you that you might not be able to see. I just think that is, it's critical. It's critical. And I just want to say that I agree with you on that point fully.
For sure. Good.
Reiterating that one, obviously.
Yes.
Good. What else? Any other advice that you'd have?
I think just like it's going to happen. I had to tell myself that all the time, it's going to happen. And even more than it's going to happen, I'm just not going to give up. If it takes me until I'm 80 years old, until I'm 100K life coach, so be it. And give yourself that space and the time. I know there's so much pressure in the community to be okay, I have to make 100K this year, and have to do it right now. But it's okay, what is my goal? And literally my goal the whole entire program was to get one client. But it was just my goal is to get one client, and I trusted that goal, and it wasn't 100K, it wasn't big, it wasn't flashy, but it worked for me. Yeah. And now I feel so much more confident that I know what I'm doing and I can get more clients. So
exactly. And I think just sometimes it takes one, right? It just takes that first one sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's something that I will offer to everyone listening. When you can get one client, that you can get as many as you want at that point. That's proof. That's all the proof that you need.
Yeah. 0 to 1 is hard.
Exactly. That's probably the hardest. But when you have that first one, the clients that I work with, a lot of my clients do come in and they have had some success. They have had some clients, Jewelle, we started where we had to just completely basically tear down what you were doing and start over, which was totally fine. And I love helping clients with that as well. But, I do have a lot of, a big portion of my clients that have come in and have had at least a little bit of success, right? They've enrolled a few clients here or there. A lot of times it's happened organically. And that's a great thing when that happens, because what that tells me as a coach is that, okay, if we've been able to really sell that organically, well, then for sure it's going to happen once we start implementing all of these other things, right? Then it becomes a matter of scaling what we already know is working. And so I agree. I think it's just, you've got to give yourself the grace. You have to cultivate the belief, and you have to decide that it's going to happen, that you're committed to it. And when you can do that, that is when it will happen.
Yeah. 100%. That's so true.
So good. So good. All right, Jewelle. So where can my listeners find you? Tell us where they can find you.
Well, you can listen to my podcast, which is amazing. That's the Fertility Life Coach podcast. And it's on all major platforms, including my website. You can go to my website, which is probably the easiest way to find me, at www.simplyyjewelle.com. Or
Great.
I'm hanging out on Instagram a lot these days. So you can find me on Instagram at Simply Jewelle Coaching, or on Facebook at Simply Jewelle Coaching.
Awesome. And we will have the links to all of those in the show notes as well, so you can check that out. Jewelle, thank you so much. Such great insight that you gave today. I love what you shared. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun to talk.
Great. Wonderful. Thanks, Jewelle.
Thanks. Bye.
Hey, if you're ready for a real breakthrough in your business and want to grow and scale your business to at least 6 figures or more in annual revenue, I invite you to apply for my exclusive program, The Mastermind, at amandacarlstadcoaching.com/the-mastermind. I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Life Coach Business Podcast. If you want to learn more about how to build, grow, and scale your business and accelerate your results, visit amandacarlstadcoaching.com.